It's always an exciting time when you pick up a new watch from the post office. This watch is a Breitling from the 1980s and has an unusual history. It's a watch that rescued the Breitling Watch Company and it played a part in the renaissance of mechanical watchmaking. I alwaase give vintage watches a clean before sending them off for service. It's important to check everything, including the movement and any serial numbers and caseback markings. If you have an interest in watch history, you will have heard of the quartz crisis, a period in the late 1970s and early 80s when cheap quartz watch sales crippled mechanical watchmaking. By 1983, the crisis reached a critical point. The Swiss watch industry, which had 1,600 watchmakers in 1970, had declined to just 600. However, you will also know that mechanical watchmaking had a rebirth that first started in Italy with a newfound appreciation of the art of mechanical watchmaking. By 1990, Swiss mechanical watch sales had risen by 44%. And since then, mechanical watches have gone from strength to strength, gradually becoming high-end luxury goods, appreciated for their craftsmanship and beauty. So what about this watch? It was launched publicly in 1984 to mark 100 years of Breitling watches, and it resurrected the Valjoy 7750 movement that had been stored away for nearly a decade. The Breitling Watch Company was in a perilous state in the turbulent 1970s, and Breitling was reduced to selling parts to other brands. In April 1979, Willy Breitling sold the company to Ernst Schneider, the proprietor of the Secura Watch Company. Now, despite the sale, the company was still financially vulnerable, releasing new, mostly quartz watches sporadically. However, in 1983, Schneider, a pilot himself, developed and produced a chronograph for the Freece Tricolori, the Italian Air Force aerobatic team. And based on that watch, the following year in 1984, Breitling would release a new Chronomat model, 81950, to the public. It turned out to be a huge success, and during the 1980s, the watches generated a significant revenue stream for the company. The inflows of cash meant that the Breitling ledger went from red ink to black, and the company would fly successfully through the following decade. The watch literally saved Breitling. Georges Kern, the current CEO, said recently, "The 1984 Chronomat occupies a very important place in our modern history. When the industry focused on quartz, the Chronomat reminded the world that Breitling had essentially invented the modern mechanical chronograph. The message resonated and the brand prospered." Watchfred, a well-known Breitling aficionado and historian, recently posted at the launch of the latest Chronomat, the 1984 model that saved the brand after the quartz crisis. And Joe Thompson, writing on the history of the mechanical revolution for Hodinkee, said he, meaning Schneider, also shrewdly arranged for the Italian Air Force to wear Breitling. Soon Breitling watches were lionised by the Milanese glitterati as the epitome of horological chic. The watch reawakened the sleeping Valjoy 7750 that had been safeguarded over the years by Edmund Capt, who disobeyed the orders of his superiors and protected the tools and dies of the movement until Breitling called. The 81950 was selling fast, and Breitling would quickly house the new movements as they came in. So all early 81950 chronomats are free of any branding or decoration. This is very much an 80s watch, and from today's perspective, might not be to everyone's taste. The crown and pushes are fluted in a nod to early flaggers. It sports a steel 60-second bezel with 4 rider tabs that can be reversed at 15 and 45, enabling it to be used to count up or count down. On the dial, there is a 100th scale displayed on the side of the rehort, and that's used to convert minutes into decimal hours. And printed on top of the rehort is a tachymeter scale. On the caseback is the outline of the Ermaci MB339A aircraft used by the Freece Tricolori flying team. Historically, the Freece Tricolori Chronomat is important to Breitling, and it had a role in the renaissance of mechanical watchmaking. But there is another story to this watch, one which we'll explore in part 2.